Hey guys, welcome back to H1Z1 Just Survive. In this segment, we're going to be highlighting a few aspects of H1Z1 that was discussed during the community outbreak on February the 10th, 2017 with the Daybreak development team. Some of the emphasis that was touched on was the fact that they wanted to make zombies a lot more menacing, threatening, and dangerous. This is something that we've pretty much been discussing across social media about the game since launch. The team mentioned that they've moved from a hit scan notification, which is what we're all familiar with as it relates to where we point the reticle, to a newer design technically known as the swiped sphere check. So what you'll be doing now is making contact within a given area or area of effect represented by this pink sphere. What will happen is the weapons you're using will have this sphere dynamic to it, which allows you to hit a particular area where the sphere is located. This gives you a broader range of fighting instead of a more concentrated area marked by the reticle. As the team mentioned, this will give your character a lot more freedom and flexibility when it comes to fighting mobs, and perhaps provide you with what may be described as a more realistic hit marking system. This system really does bring a lot more range of weapon damage distribution, much like what you would expect if you were actually taking a swing and brushing multiple targets, but also allowing for better weapon contact on a target. As you see here, if you're contending with multiple targets, you'll be able to at least land some blows to each, and you won't have to concentrate on fighting with a more surgical precision. The various weapons will have their own damage identity, or you could say that each weapon will have its own sweet spot from which it deals its damage. It would appear that zombie vulnerabilities will still be around their heads, so if you're landing your blows in that area, you'll be able to deal a lot more damage. The team did mention that they'd look into areas of the zombie body, but it's just something they've discussed as they aren't sure it would fit within the tech of the design. The incredibly exciting part of the community outbreak, along with that, was that of base building. What we saw was a series of mock-ups outlining the various possible combinations and configurations we'll have to incorporate into our bases. We'll have full walls, half walls, different size flooring, lots of different types of cover, and as you can see, you'll have nice kill windows, which you can use in a sniper sentinel style, and use the kill windows in your interior base design to allow for the same level of cover while dishing out damage. You'll be able to design a series of portals, airlocks, and other defensive barriers, giving you a really impressive array of base defense. I'm sure we'll have the advantage of creating better isolation for more sensitive items like your storage containers. You can even build a dedicated area or workshop for your workbench and weapons bench. The team mentioned that the windows will have shutters that we can open and close, so that's going to give some additional protection and even additional elements of surprise. People may not know you're inside. You'll pop open a window and blast them in the face. Also, improvements have been made to base doors. For example, instead of us getting those broad swinging gates that we now have, they'll swing inward and possibly even sliding partitions, but that wasn't specifically mentioned, but I'm looking forward to how that's going to work out. And of course, and equally as important, roofs. Having a roof will give you the ability to make very secure ramparts and, of course, add that additional protection from lobbed, thrown, or shot projectiles like explosive arrows, grenades, and Molotov cocktails. We're going to be given a pretty incredible building system, far more advanced and modular than what we've had during the course of the alpha, so that's pretty damn exciting. Naturally, this will provide us with the ability to build far more practical cover instead of jerry-rigging furnaces as a means to shoot and cover. The team mentioned that this should help with performance as well, which will be an important aspect to the newer pieces. The fact that we're getting newer elements is a much needed shot in the arm for the game, and needless to say, will allow for a new level of base customization, adding for personalized style and ingenuity. we were able to see just a fraction of base building possibilities, so that should keep people pretty entertained for quite some time. Now we're looking at the wooden base design, and you can see it has amazing detail and protection. The team mentioned they are introducing a concept called defenses. This will allow us to set up yet another level of base configuration that can add additional protection. You can see some of the shutters in the windows in this wood build base. Also, right now the team mentioned that the bases are currently set to 3 stories high as a starting point. But lookout towers or water towers, they did mention water towers. I don't think I've ever seen a water tower in a game for a base, as they mentioned, would provide additional height. As we play and experiment with the new construction, perhaps we can come up with some new ideas or other areas that would create perhaps the need for elevation. But for now, it will be set for just 3 stories. The team mentioned that they are still working on how they want the various pieces to work. The pieces will have their own categories, so a wall piece will be a wall piece and a floor piece will be a floor piece, and it will come from a material inventory. So perhaps you'll have to gather some materials, but they may not necessarily have to be assembled the way we do now, but there wasn't any specifics to how this would be accomplished, so we'll have to wait and see. Base permissions are going to work essentially the same. You'll have a leader or main owner of the property that can assign access, and the team mentioned that perhaps at some point they'll add a ranking system, perhaps to segment where certain players can go within the base along with what they can access. The guys mentioned that we may be seeing an end to the mega bases that people build and narrowing it down to a designated type building area with more adjusted building perimeters. There will be different foundation sizes, so the one here in this wooden base design is actually the smallest of the retrofits the guys mentioned. And they also addressed a few questions which entailed that there won't be basements. I know a lot of us had discussed tunnels and secret passageways in the past, but it would appear that no basements will be in this design. The team didn't go into any details about material types, as we'll have to wait and see if there'll be things like cement, brick, or concrete options. I'm hoping that at some point we'll be able to build the sandbags, HESCO bags, and other details like we see in the wood-based design. As you guys may recall, in the very early streams, we saw Steve George demonstrate the spray paint mechanic, which we seldom heard about since that time. This was something they discussed pre-launch, but we've not gotten any additional information about that since. Justin did mention that they are still working on farming for the test server. If you guys have planted farms, you'll notice that our crops are not growing to maturity, so that's something they'll be addressing. No particular time frame was given on when we can expect to see the base pieces or design, but we do know that the first introduction will be on the test servers. But again, no date or time frame was mentioned. And that's your look at the latest Just Survive news. No doubt pretty exciting stuff, and hopefully this will energize the community and bring folks back to experience the game again. If you're new to the channel, welcome, and I'm happy that you stopped in. If you're a frequent visitor, consider subscribing by clicking on the watermark there in the bottom right-hand corner. Also, follow me on Twitter, so you'll have all the latest news from Daybreak and H1Z1.